by federal government, municipalities provide a considerable in the civil engineer sector. Also, there are signs of subdued market development in some these areas in the medium term. Starting situation in the beginning of the year appeared surprising favorite tables. So let's give the quick look to the, in my opinion, a simple but in the same time a difficult question. So why we need a structure? So why we need buildings? And why we construct it? In general, a building is a structure with a roof and walls standing more and less permanently in one place, such a house or such a factory. Building came in a variety size, shapes, functions, and have been adapted through the history for a wide number of factors, from type of building materials, available materials, to the weather conditions, land prices, ground conditions, soil grain conditions, various specific uses, architectural and design solutions, aesthetic reasons, and so on. So many others. To better understand the term building compared to the list on non-building structures. So building serve the several society needs. Primary as shelter from weather, security, living space, privacy, store belongings, and a comfortable life and work. In general, building as a shelter represents physical divisions for the human habitat, place for comfort and the safety. And the outside can be considered like a place that time and times may be harsh and harmful for our health. So the first, so ever since the first cave paintings, buildings have also became object or canvases of much artistic expression. So in the recent years, interests in sustainable planning, in the comfortable planning, and the building practice has also became in the international part of the design processes and of many new buildings. So now we see how important became to make the design, to make the calculation and analysis of new modern buildings with interesting shapes, with a variety of the colors and the materials. So when we actually discuss about construction industry, we need to understand the main divisions of the constructions. Because when we start talking about types of the buildings according to their functional duties, to the size and the colors, first of all, we need to understand the divisions. So building constructions actually is the process of adding structure to area of the land, so as known as real property of the size. So typically the project is instigated by or with the owner of the property, who may be an individual or an organization. Occasional land may be compulsory purchased from owner to public use. So here is, I want to show you the maybe four most popular and most important types or divisions of the construction industry, like in our country and so in abroad. Here is residential construction, public buildings, or sometimes it's called like commercial buildings, because this meaning is the same. Heavy construction. So what separately mean each of these types we'll discuss on the next slides. And the heavy construction and industrial construction. So let's give a quick look to the variety of these buildings. So let's start with residential building. So residential buildings actually can be like you see here. So it's a single family houses, multi-family dwellings, high-rise apartments. So also residential construction may be undertaken by individual landowners, so they are called self-builders, by specialist house builders, by property developers, by general contractors, or by providers of public or social housing. So it call it like public social housing. I mean the local authorities, housing associations, and so on. So where local zoning or planning policies allow mixed-use developments may comprise both residential and non-residential construction. So, for example, other type like public construction can include in the comparison too. Residential construction practice, technologies, and resources must confirm a local building authority regulations in the code practice. So I mean our national norms and regulations should be taken into account during the design and calculation of the such buildings. Materials are rapidly available in the area, generally dictate the construction material used. So because the absence or presence of some of material is very important. When there are absence, for example, of concrete, of course, it will be a bad decision to accept the project with concrete construction, because it will be very expensive and difficult to deliver concrete materials from one place to another place. So the cost of construction on a per square meter, per square foot basis for houses, and can vary dramatically based on site conditions. So I mean, where is located the building in the modern cities or in the some country region and so on. So that's important. Access roads, again, as there are the traffic jams, for example, or maybe developed infrastructure located nearby to the building construction. That's also important. Local regulations, economies of scale. So custom design at home are often more expensive to build. And so the availability of skilled tradespeople. So it means that professional staff in the organization who have a deal with the design should be also in a higher level, because it can decrease the time of construction, decrease the time of making the projects, and so on. And in general, it will decrease the expenses for the project and for the construction of this project. Okay, next. So next type is one of the popular building. So in the previous slide, I didn't say about 30 to 35% of construction industry. So it took 1/3 part of all constructions are built in the various types of the cities. So not only in our country, but in general. So it took one of the third. So public buildings is non-residential building. So it construction can be produced by a wide range of the private, public organizations, including local authorities, educational and religious bodies, transport undertakings, retailers, hotels, property developers, financial institutions, and other private companies. So most construction in this sector is undertaken by the general contractors. So office buildings, public buildings can generally categorized by the, first of all, by the size and by quality. So let's talk about the size. So if we'll make the comparisons between the size, so we can divide any type of the building into three parts. It's a low-rise buildings. So when there are story less than 7 story. So or in some documentations, you can find various information about low-story buildings. Some of them can say less than 6-story buildings. In some places, you can find information about 5-story buildings. So it all depends on the local codes, local normative documentations. So what number of level is considered like low-story buildings. Mid-rise buildings. So mid-rise buildings, it's from 7 to 25 story, and the high-rise buildings more than 25 story. But also there are in the high-rise buildings, there are some additional definition like skyscrapers. So skyscrapers is a building which consist of more than 40 stories. So skyscrapers, actually, it's not so popular construction in our country, but in the modern developed countries with a higher economy and with sufficiently good soil conditions and weather conditions, there can be found that The skyscrapers is one of the very popular buildings, and in cities with a big population, it's one of the best solution to make the construction, the skyscrapers. And the representatives of the most popular representatives of such buildings, it is the schools, universities, medical clinics, hospitals, sports centers, um, some buildings with a light manufacturing, office buildings, hotels, um, theaters, so all public buildings, universities, school, kindergartens, and so on. So this is place where we spend our time, some part of actually our day, with the aim of work, with the aim of study, and just for rest. Next type of construction division is heavy construction. Heavy construction. So what we can say about heavy construction? First of all, that heavy construction took from 20 to 25 construction percentage of all construction industry. It can be considered like a very popular and very often found type of construction in the any city. So heavy construction in general is a construction of large structures. So that is require extensive engineering and project management due to diligence. So this an industry classification that is usually designed around the firms that are focused on large government projects that require specialized equipment, civil engineering capabilities. So such projects actually literally heavy, thus the name. So however, large publics that are heavy may not consider it heavy construction because they're relatively standard equipment and engineering approaches. So the following are common heavy types, what you see on your slides, common types of construction projects. So building structure, for example, are typically considered like actually commercial construction. But in some times, the exception is when the building needs to contract a civil engineering and a heavy construction firm for special requirements, such unusual foundation on a slope, for example. Yes. So when there are a really difficult condition of soil, condition of weather, of land scale, of the scale of the building, so it also can be considered like the heavy construction. Yes. Despite the main aim, for example, it's a public aim of the building. Airports, railroads, ports. So ports of harbor structures. Yes. So it's ocean-related projects that require dragging, such as port facilities. What else? Dams. Dams related and related infrastructure, so dams and the infrastructure is related to the dams, such as hydroelectric power facilities, so reservoirs, silos, and other structures. Bridges also require significant engineering due to diligence and therefore considered heavy construction. There can be really large span structures, you know it. So the biggest one is about 2,000 meters between two abutments, so two piers to the columns, yes? So with a large span. Actually, it should be considered like the heavy construction, because to construct it, we need a really difficult and higher quality equipment and of course professionalists included like into the design and also both in to construction. Roads, construction and maintenance of the roads also require specialized equipment, typically categorized as a heavy construction. What else? Transportation, higher speed rail lines, subways, airports, and other transportation infrastructure. Environmental engineering, so infrastructure for handling wastes such as sewer system or hazardous waste storage facilities, geotechnical engineering, so projects that involve soil, rock mechanics. So there are often projects that are sensitive to natural hazards, such as earthquakes, for example. Yes? That's why geotechnical engineering is one of the difficult and one of the important parts of the soil mechanics in the geodesy and so on. And the last one for our today lecture is the industrial construction. So industrial construction, we actually cannot say that it is most popular construction type because it took only 5 to 10% of all majority of the construction. But in the same time, it is like a heavy construction. It is one of the difficult one, and it took really time. It took from us a high qualified specialist and so on. So what we can say about industrial construction? So it includes shock construction, mainly of energy installations. For example, for instance, oil and gas platforms, wind power turbines, mining and quarrying, refineries, other processes plants, power stations, steel mills, warehouses, factories, and so on. So industrial construction is a specific form for building that require expert and highly experienced workers who can make the multitask functions. So many industrial construction companies are large multinational companies. Projects are run by bevy of managers, engineers, architects, designers, and other qualified specialists. So industrial construction is always located outskirts of the town. So according to many requirements for the industrial buildings. So manufacturing sites factor is need for special convenience requirements such as 24/7 shipping and receiving, um, accessibility located nearby to airport or railroad transportation, to access the major highways, to make easier deliver some materials, deliver some constructions, and so on. So building design for industrial plants involves around the floor plans that promote smooth foot traffic, focus on coordinating manufacturing, distribution. So these buildings are built for functionality, not for style, not for attractive purposes to attract people, for example. No. So there are specific purpose. Industrial buildings made to support heavy equipment and other equipment that must be made to meet industry specific regulations. So industrial construction also describe any business that manufacture goods. So this business could include construction, factories, works, electrical, civil, or mechanical processes. So like you see, it's generate and accelerate all other construction industries located and needed to construct such a huge and difficult construction like industrial buildings. So for today lecture, that's all. So if you have questions, actually you can ask it. So I will try answer it. Or if there will be no questions, so I will make the checkout and see who is absent today and who is here. Okay.
Okay, let's check.